Let's go to New Hampshire. This is the final electoral block that we're going to do here, just in terms of some of our predictions, what we think is going to shake out. So let's go put the RCP average up there on the screen. This is where things stand as of right now. So Donald Trump currently 43.5%, Nikki Haley 29.3%, Chris Christie, obviously you could discount that, he's been dropped out 11.3%, DeSantis was 6.5%, and Vivek Ramaswamy at 5%. So Vivek's 5%, I think we'd probably safely say either going to peter out or majority of those going to go over to Trump. Chris Christie, who the hell knows? I mean, the question here is, and this is, I put this out last night, but I really do believe it, is that I think this outcome, Krystal, was the best possible one for Trump. DeSantis has no path to victory in New Hampshire. Nikki did. So her coming in third and not having the #2 narrative that she needed and wanted coming out of Iowa is the only thing that could have put her over the edge in New Hampshire and made that a contested race. DeSantis has no chance of winning New Hampshire, and now they're more likely to equally split the so-called Nikki surge in New Hampshire. Now, listen, of course, things can happen. It's only a week away, et cetera, but, you know, this is just my overall, like, kind of prediction of way things go. This just seems to me more likely that Trump then consolidates that vote for Vivek Ramaswamy voters. The Chris Christie voter is so anti-Trump, they may not even come out to vote because they just feel discouraged by the results. We would have depressed turnout, you know, majority of people backing Trump anyway. And it just seems like he's going to tie even more of a bow on it post New Hampshire than if Nikki Haley had come in second in this race. I think it would be living in a different world only because the media would make it such a big deal that matters a lot to these New Hampshire college educated voters. What do you think?
I agree with all of that. You know, even with Chris Christie dropping out of the race and Nikki getting a good bit of his support, it's not like the polls showed her winning in New Hampshire. And there is no state in the union, including her own home state, that is better for Nikki Haley than New Hampshire. So when I look at the Iowa results last night and I see that she wasn't even winning among college educated voters, which is, you know, she's a total wine track like Elizabeth Warren kind of a candidate, I find it very doubtful that she could pull off a victory even in New Hampshire. And let's be real, even if she did, I don't think it would really matter because then you go on from there and you're going to lose everything else. To me, last night's results proved how limited her appeal and her support is within the Republican Party. She has come to be seen, and Emily, I'd be curious if you agree with this, she has come to be seen almost like a Chris Christie anti-Trump figure, even though she was much more gentle with Donald Trump in terms of her critique. But her favorability rating with Republicans has been falling off a cliff. So, you know, people who said they were very conservative didn't vote for her. People who said they were somewhat conservative didn't vote for her. The only group she did well with were moderates and liberals, which was a tiny sliver of the electorate last night. So, yeah, she doesn't have momentum going into New Hampshire. Ron DeSantis is still hanging around. She needed absolutely everything to go completely perfectly, plus some things to be revealed that weren't being revealed in the polls. And none of that happened. So, you know, to go back to how we started this whole thing with Trump, basically like giving Nikki and giving Ron a little pat on the head and Vivek as well, that's appropriate because this thing is effectively over. Barring something totally external to electoral politics, which you never know. But barring that, Black Swan event, barring that, it's done. It's a wrap. It's over. Donald Trump is still the man in the Republican Party. If you didn't know that yesterday, you definitely know it now.
Bowtie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Nikki Haley had a surprisingly good showing yesterday, or Ron DeSantis, I mean, honestly, second place was okay for DeSantis, but if either of them had come close to Trump, for some reason they had gotten, 40% of the vote, something like that, even 30% of the vote, they just totally blew the polls out of the water, and we didn't know, if the polling had proven to be pretty inaccurate yesterday, and one of them overperformed the polls, then especially Nikki Haley could have gone into New Hampshire with some momentum. She's now third place, and a distant third place to Trump. She's already down by double digits in New Hampshire. So in the media, you're hearing all of this chatter about how Nikki Haley is heading into New Hampshire with the wind at her back. In fact, people were making that argument in Iowa. They were saying, Nikki Haley didn't put that much money in Iowa. She only focused there in the last couple of weeks. It's kind of true, but not really. I mean, she's been in Iowa for a while. She wasn't doing exactly what DeSantis was doing, but she was doing more than Trump. And so if she's going into New Hampshire with the wind at her back and is down double digits and just came in a distant third, this race is over.
Yep.
Barring a black swan event, this race is over. And Nikki Haley is the media's last-ditch effort to make this narrative appealing and to drive ratings and to sell papers, because seriously, this race is over. Yeah. There was a potential track. If she had done well, that they would have done what happened in 2020 with Pete and Amy, right? That Republican donors would have gotten together behind closed doors and said, listen, she's it. She just got 35% of the vote without, really focusing on that until the last couple months. Nope, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Ryan?
Yeah, and it undermines this gimmick that Democrats were going to try to pull, where they were going to, a bunch of Democrats just going to go out and vote for Nikki Haley.
Oh, in New Hampshire, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Because you can switch. You know, you can take whatever ballot you want. But if you're a Democrat at this point, like, is that how you're going to spend your evening? Like, your day? Like, what's even the point? Like, if you thought there was a path, and I disagree with this strategy from Democrats, because I think Nikki Haley is more right wing, as we talked about earlier.
Right.
More pro-war.
We'd all die if she were president.
On and on. Yes. Yeah. But setting that aside, they genuinely like that she speaks in like polite, complete sentences, and like they feel like she's not a threat to democracy, and on and on.
Right.
So if they thought there was a chance that gaming the New Hampshire primary would give her a boost and give her, the jolt that she needed to win the Republican nomination, then maybe enough of them go through with that gimmick. But watching what happened in Iowa, I don't see how that incentivizes a Democrat to play games.
Yeah, so, just to throw something on the fire, it's so, I don't really understand how she does this. She's put out this morning, we've had 5 great debates. Unfortunately, Trump has ducked all of them. He has nowhere left to hide. The next debate I will do will either be Trump or with Joe Biden. I look forward to it. So she's trying to be like, the race is over. It's me versus Trump. I'm like, lady, the race is over. You're not even in this equation.
Actually, quote from her last night. She said, Iowa just made this a 2-person race.
What are you talking about?
because she's going in New Hampshire, and the RCP average, she's at about 22% in the polls in RCP. DeSantis is at 11%. Put those two numbers together, and you're still nowhere near Trump's 52%. So you could try to do what Pete and Amy did in 2020, and you're still going to lose. You're still going to lose, because Trump in New Hampshire is at 52%. If he takes Ramaswamy's 3.3, you're putting him at something like, I'm sorry, I'm in South Carolina. Thank you, Ryan. You're reading the screen for me. Okay, so in New Hampshire, Trump's at 43%. Haley's at 29.3%. Chris Christie in the polls was at 11.3%. DeSantis is at 6.5%. So if you take Chris Christie's 11.3% from that RCP average, I don't think all of that goes to Haley. I think you probably get half to Haley, half to DeSantis. So that still puts Haley double digits behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, and just so we're all clear, I even have South Carolina here in front of me. She's losing to Trump by 30 points in her own home state.
Exactly. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing here, lady? I mean, listen, you want to burn some billionaire cash on private jets? Be my guest.
But then you have to go into Super Tuesday on March,
that's right.
What was it, March 5th? And so, again, they're down like so much in the national polling. Trump's at over 60%
and
national.
California, don't forget, California is part of Super Tuesday now. Trump is winning by 60 points. We could probably go on ad nauseum, but the point has probably been made here. Krystal, I know you're going to drop off, so any final electoral thoughts before we depart?
Yeah, I was just going to say, last thought with regard to Nikki Haley. Number one, when that Iowa Des Moines Register poll came out and it had her in second, but even the pollster, Ann Selzer, who's very well known and sort of respected in this, and that's the gold standard polling. And by the way, that poll did come very close to nailing the actual outcome. When she made sure to say in the copy, like, it is jaw-dropping how little Nikki Haley supporters actually support her, like how not enthusiastic they are, and was basically saying about her own poll, I don't think that Nikki Haley is going to perform where this is showing her performing. I really took that to heart, which is why, to give us pats on the back, Saagar, we're pretty close with our predictions yesterday, including the ultimate outcome of what was going to happen. I will also say, if you're a Republican and your strategy depends on getting Democrats to come to the polls for you to vote, like, that's not going to work out. And even, they talk about this every time. Oh, Republicans are going to cross over and cause chaos. Democrats are going to cross over and cause chaos. I've never seen it happen in really serious numbers. They could have done it in the Iowa caucus last night also, when it was still, a going concern that potentially they could beat Trump. And it didn't happen. So Nikki needed for there to be some secret group of voters out there not reflected in the polling, who really wants to move on from Donald Trump and needed a permission structure to do it. I think we can say definitively after last night, that group of voters does not exist. And her campaign, whether she does okay in New Hampshire or not, is also effectively over.
Yeah, well said, Krystal. And we appreciate you. Thank you. Enjoy your snow day with the kiddos. Keep them all safe. We'll carry on from here. So we'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.